X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is the all-new, all-different X-Men podcast, where we rank every story from A to Z.
Well, I am Adam.
And I'm Zach. And guys, I have a confession to make.
A confession? What is this confession?
This confession is that this is the all-new, all-different Battle of the Atom, because this is episode 94. And I'll be honest, every episode from 93 to 67 was a repeat. We had been canceled. You remember that, Adam, correct?
I do not remember being cancelled.
We were canceled, and they just reran our episodes. I thought it was kind of weird that no one noticed. But we're the all-new, all-different Battle of the Atom now. I'm a gruff Canadian.
Is that why I'm Russian now?
That's why you're Russian now, Adam. We can't do that bit for that long. And I'm pretty sure if I have some bourbon, I will stop doing a Wolverine voice.
I don't know. I felt like I could keep that up once I got into it. How you doing, Zach?
Guys, we practiced that. We spent a lot of time thinking about this very esoteric joke. But welcome to All New, All Different Battle of the Atom. This is episode 94 of our good podcast. Where we talk in bad accents, I think, is the overwhelming theme of our body of work here.
Yeah, that and mispronouncing things. So, this is a some might call this episode a mutant milestone, Zach.
I didn't know where you were going for me for a second, and you pulled it. You pulled it not back into our dumb episode number theme.
Yeah.
But into the actual stories we're talking about. And that's amazing, Adam.
Thank you. Master of the segue. We've got a request here for one of my favorite characters. Who are we talking about today?
We're talking about Lucas Bishop. You like him.
Oh, yeah. These are weird stories, though. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah. First off, we want to say hi, hello, and thank you to Patrick Joint. Patrick went over to patreon.com/XavierFiles and he threw money at us and he said, I would like you to talk about my friend Bishop. He's a nice man. Well,
sure.
we're gonna talk about how he tries to kill a baby in one of these stories, and that's and how he's a cop in the other two.
He's a detective in one, Zach.
It's true. And the other one, he's a time cop, but I'm going to say the XSE are more of a military unit than they are a police force.
For sure. So where are we starting? I believe we are starting with what at least the cover is advertising as a mutant milestone. What was the request?
The request was Bishop's Crossing,
yes.
Which is more colloquially known as a very large trade containing the Whilce Portacio era of Uncanny X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
But we are just going to be covering Uncanny 281 through 283 because we covered 284 through the next few bits. And then we covered the bits after it.
Yeah, that's Into the Void. Now, this is infamously the other 1991 X-Men quote-unquote relaunch where they didn't renumber anything and didn't have all the... A through E connecting covers, but we do get a wraparound Whilce Portacio cover here.
And we do get writing by someone who definitely dislikes us as a unit, mostly because of me. And that's John Byrne. I'm talking about John Byrne.
Yeah, we're at that special time when Claremont has left. Jim Lee and Whilce are doing the plotting on this book, soon to be just Whilce. And John Byrne, for whatever reason, has jumped back on for a couple issues to script these things, and it's awkward.
Yeah, John Byrne is not happy about this work that he had done on this, which I think we previously talked about when we talked about Into the Void.
Yes, and what marks this as special is that these issues represent the first appearance of Lucas Bishop and the XSE.
Lucas Bishop and his good friends Malcolm and Randall, who don't die immediately, I'm
No,
sure.
take
They
a
will
couple
have trading
issues.
cards.
Can I tell you what the most unfortunate thing about the first appearance of Lucas Bishop is?
Is it Trevor Fitzroy?
It sure as heck is, because to get to Lucas Bishop, we unfortunately have to be introduced to one of the dumbest, stupidest villains in X-Men of all time, and that is the man who comes from Bishop's timeline, Trevor Fitzroy. So we start off these issues with Trevor just straight up murdering the Hellions.
Well, no.
Oh no, okay,
We
that's
start
it.
with him straight up murdering the Reavers.
That's right. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself because we also have some Sentinels that are heading to New York via Gateway.
Yeah, we know Gateway. We like Gateway. Gateway doesn't die, which is good.
How come Gateway doesn't get killed by the Sentinels? Why don't the Sentinels want to kill Gateway?
Because he's useful.
Okay. All right. I'll go with it. They just kind of fly away and leave him. I don't know. It's strange.
Because Gateway hasn't hurt anyone. Gateway is pacifist, probably. Gateway exists. He's at peace with the world and his role in it.
This is clearly being guided by Portacio's art. I'm sure that John Byrne was looking at these pages and wondering what the heck the story might be. There's probably a plot outline that went with this at some point, but
Jim Lee helped with the plotting on this. Him and Wilson came up with this first arc together, or at least the first issue.
But I mean, unlike X-Men 1, which I think people still hold in very high regard because it's just this, great introduction to the blue team, this is a heck of a place to try and jump in if you're a new reader.
Yeah, it's rough. This is some rough chuckles because the X-Men are hanging out with the Hellions and Emma Frost in a cross-team bonding exercise. I don't really understand why they're at the Hellfire Club.
They've been invited. There's a party.
They're there. They're working with the Hellions, which now include Beef and Devtron.
Sure. Why not?
They're the worst. But it doesn't matter because they all get murdered by Trevor friggin' Fitzroy in his stupid green goatee.
Ugh. And his crystal outfit. And even Jean Grey appears to bite the dust at the end of 281. We realize very quickly that she's still in there. So that was a bit of a false cliffhanger. And there's some stuff about the Hellfire Club and Shinobi Shaw in here. And
the
eventually...
Games Master. We get to see the Games Master.
Yes, and Celine. But eventually Fitzroy starts bringing in the rest of the murderous villains from the future, which the Gold Team have to defeat. And who follows them through but our good buddy Bishop and Malcolm and Randall.
Yeah, and they do murder Kroger and Burke.
I'm so impressed that you know their names.
I looked it up, but I did remember Kroger because there is a very, very big grocery chain named Kroger, which is where I get my deli meats and my bourbon.
Yeah. It's really not until 283 that we start to actually get hints of who Bishop is all about. This idea that he is the ultimate X-Men fanboy who's been sent back in time. He even can't quite believe that he's in the presence of these past X-Men who maybe don't look exactly like what he thought they were supposed to look like.
Is it nuts that Bishop is just Whilce Portacio's self-insert fanfic OC?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because Bishop was supposed to be Filipino.
That's right. And
Bishop was just supposed to be Whilce Portacio with a big gun.
That's fine.
He's like, I really love X-Men, guys. Don't you know? Also, guns are fun to draw. One more Whilce Portacio Bishop OC thing. Did you know that on all social media, Whilce Portacio's icon is literally just him drawn as Bishop?
Yes.
It's beautiful.
It's great.
I love his passion for this. Like, his storytelling's not great here. His art is... He's not the best of the Image founders. I love his passion, though.
I mean, I'm going to go on record again. I think I've said this during the Into the Void episode. I love Will Sportacio's art. I just think that at this time, his whole run, it suffers because there's not a lot of editorial control. And, with this style driving the ship, it's not necessarily the best storytelling. You know what I mean? Like it's again a case of style over substance. So we get things like Storm holding a shotgun up to Bishop, which seems a little strange, but
It's a weird choice for Aurora Monroe. Yeah,
it's okay. It's okay. But when we finally get Bishop into the story, it's pretty cool. Unfortunately, like I said, it's a heck of a lot of Fitzroy before we get to that point, and that is not fun at all. I don't think people look back on especially 281 very fondly,
it's not
especially
good.
because it just, if you were a New Mutants fan, forget it. Like, you just had your New Mutants collapse into X-Force, and then they basically said, oh yeah, remember all of Emma's kids? They're dead.
They didn't even kill the one you wanted to see killed.
That's right.
They don't even kill Empath.
No.
And he's the one you want to murder.
No, he gets to go off to Roma to hang out with Magma. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I think these are fun. I think there's tons of copies of these out there because this was part of the Mute Genesis relaunch. But in terms of wanting to go back to them, I think I would most like to read 283 again because we really start to get those hints of Bishop's character. But 281, 282, yeah, I could skip those two issues because they're painful.
Well, I do have a question for you. And
yeah, go ahead.
We'll get to rankings in just a second. But this is the gold team, a split off from the blue team. I want to know how many picks Jim Lee got for what characters he wanted before Will Sportacio got one single pick that he was allowed to choose. Like, was it like Jim Lee got to pick 3 and then Will's got 1?
I don't think Will's got any. I think that no, I mean, it's very clear that, anybody that Jim has worked for, any company has been willing to just give him the keys to the kingdom. And a lot of that has to do with just how successful he is. But, there's a certain level of admiration for his talent, his work ethic, everything. I would strongly doubt that Will's had much of a choice as to who the quote unquote gold team turned out to be.
Oh, fun fact. I definitely saw Jim Lee at C2E2 and I didn't realize it was him until I had walked away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it turns out I wasn't sure who the 50-some-year-old Asian guy in a ball cap sitting at the DC booth was, just like behind the scenes chatting with people. Then I walked back and said, "Oh wait, no, that's Jim Lee. That's what Jim Lee looks like. That's Jim Lee."
I believe in general these days you have to kind of win a lottery to go and talk to Jim Lee because he's a busy man.
It was early in the show. I think he was legitimately just like chatting with his coworkers.
You missed your opportunity, man.
James, if you would like to come onto our show and talk about a different company, that's fine. Not the one that you help run. Also, oddly enough, I just remembered Jim Lee's favorite character is Colossus, so I don't know why he didn't pick him.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but
maybe Colossus is a pain to draw. All those lines.
I don't know. I never found Colossus to be that tricky because his costume is really simple and he just has lines all over him. Plus, doesn't Colossus appear in X-Men 1 anyway?
Yeah, but everyone does. The gold or the blue team doesn't split out until like really X-Men 4.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, we should rank this bad boy.
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
It's better than Into the Void, is it? Is it?
No.
Into the Void's at 161, and it's not that much worse.
I don't know if this is better than that. Like, all right, here's what I'm going to say. 283 is better than Into the Void. 283 is, you guys know I like Bishop. And
I know you like Bishop.
He's not quite up to like X-Men number 8, where he's, getting into it with Gambit. And like, that's where he really sort of solidifies as a character. But even here, you can tell like who he's supposed to be, and that's great. 281, 282 are not good.
Is this better
Hmm.
than District X 1 through 6? Mr. M.
That's a tough one. Where do we have District X? I know you just said
175.
this. Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, so better than District X. You know what? I don't think this is better than Uncanny 390 The Cure, where Colossus dies.
Perfect.
The very hard to draw Colossus.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. That has a little more heart than this. So this is our new 175?
This is our new 175 Uncanny X-Men Bishop's Crossing.
Great. We got other areas of Bishop's timeline to talk about now.
Yeah, we're going to talk about different Bishop areas. And the next one of Bishop's areas.
That sounds dirty.
Oh, Adam, I would never. I like to think of us as the PG X-Men podcast. We avoid swears and cusses. We avoid explicit sexual references.
That's right. We avoid all of those areas.
We're the podcast that you can listen to with your children, and we'd like to stay that way, except for when we have guests on, because then they just cuss like sailors.
That's all right. They're professionals. You know,
they're professional sailor cussers. Do you know who else is a professional?
It's
Dwayne Swazinski.
Dane Straczynski?
Yeah, Dwayne Swazinski. I'm so bad with those like Polish names.
I'm gonna say Swarzynski. What do you think?
We've done this before. We've literally done this bit when we did Daddy Cable.
Okay.
We did this exact same thing. He writes a story, and Larry Stroman does the art on it. Inks by Mark Farmer and colors by Matt Milla. And I want to be very clear about the colors by Matt Milla because, Matt, I think you're nice. I think you seem like a good dude. Something about your colors do not work with Larry Stroman's art.
That may be fair. What is this book that we're talking about here?
We're talking about X-Men, The Times and Life of Lucas Bishop. I thought it was Life and Times.
That's what I thought.
I thought it was Life and Times. It is not.
Lives and Times, the Times and Lives. It is a Times and Life of Lucas Bishop. And what a surprise to open this up and see Larry Stroman doing all 3 issues of this. Crazy.
Totally forgot Larry Stroman did this one.
Oh, he's making some weird choices too, in terms of the way Larry is always very kind of idiosyncratic in the way he draws things. But you know, even the way he draws the M's across the eyes, the very, very strange things going on here. But this is also a very peculiar retelling of Bishop's past / the X-Men's future. Would you agree?
I would think that before Bishop murders this baby, he has to think about his entire life.
Yes, and that's exactly what's happening here. Would you agree, though, that what we've been hinted at Bishop's future being doesn't necessarily line up with what we're seeing in these 3 issues?
Yeah, no, this is retconning the heck out of Bishop's future.
Oh, thank goodness. Because
it's wild. You remember how Bishop's grandma's definitely Storm?
Now, all right, this brings up a really interesting point. Okay. There are 2 present day X-Men featured in this story. One, it appears as if Bishop's grandmother is Storm. The other is that we get reintroduced to a character who I thought we met in prison, which was the future Gambit, which is the Witness.
But he's not even future Gambit. You know that, right?
Who is he?
He's a guy named LeBeau who's not Remy LeBeau.
Okay. Now,
that was obviously not the intention. When he was introduced as LeBeau, he was supposed to just be Remy LeBeau.
Well, and what's interesting is when in this story, in the 3rd issue, he does make the time jump back. He claims that he recognizes the young Witness, who he thinks is Gambit, but he doesn't recognize his own grandmother?
Yeah, look, Bishop also once thought Monet was his mom. So
Oh boy, deep breaths, guys. Deep breaths.
I'm going to say this right now because as explicit as this book is trying to be, that Storm is Gambit's Storm this person Storm this person Bishop has made out with is his grandmother. Storm and Bishop aren't related. Bishop's not related to any of the X-Men. Not everyone has to be related, guys.
No.
Freaking Dwayne. Not all of these characters have to be related just because they're the only dark-skinned characters in X-Men. That's wild. Chris Claremont already screwed up when he made like Gateway Bishop's great granddad or whatever it is. And we can't take that back, but we can take back these ones because they aren't canon yet.
That's true. Very true. So we get Bishop's horrible childhood, basically growing up in what is it, a concentration camp where they're doing medical experiments, all the way through to his time with the XSE, and then going back in time to where we were just talking about in Uncanny. And then we get all the way up to the last page of this series is Bishop holding a gun at Baby Hope.
He's got to think about his entire life before he kills this baby.
Yeah.
This is like X-Men Grand Design, but only for Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
And with a weird retcon that everyone hates Hope in Bishop's future. And we should have already known that. Bishop spent his entire life hating Hope.
Yeah, it's very interesting in the way that it's described too, because it doesn't really make concrete what she did.
Yeah, here's the thing. I've started to realize this. When comics editorial says someone did something terrible, they know that someone did something. What they don't know is what they did, and they're just going to run with that storyline for like a year and a half and pay it off somehow.
Yeah. So
it runs in the family. Hope, don't worry.
So, I do think it's kind of fun seeing Strowman play around with some of this stuff. Like Baby Hope is pictured as like downright satanic. There's these alternate versions of the X-Men through not baby, but like little kid Bishop's eyes as he's hearing these stories. And I genuinely loved seeing Strowman come back and just be weird. It's very odd. The way he draws these layouts are kind of, all over the place. He does these great crowd scenes like he always did in X Factor in his short run there. But as a whole, this thing is kind of a weird, like you were saying, it's just like this very large retcon of, what Bishop is and what we understood his story to be.
I think just like in the first Bishop story we talked about, Bishop is at his best here when you get the side of Bishop that like loves the X-Men and is really interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he imagines his X-Men, because he's imagining stories that his grandmother, who's definitely not Storm, has been telling him. And, he's a kid, so he doesn't know what the X-Men look like. So he pictures them. And this is where Strowman's art is best, by the way, because he gets to do these weird, abstract redesigns of all the X-Men.
Yeah, and they're pictured as sort of like these epic gods.
Do you know what I love most about it?
Yeah, what's that?
That like 5-year-old Bishop hears about all these heroes and he pictures them looking just like him.
Yeah.
He pictures a bunch of black heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so like it so makes sense of what that was like. And it reminds you of when you were a kid and everything was based on your experience. It's a very good touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some good stuff like that. And I love seeing Strowman on this. I wish that he did more work, honestly. I don't know what he does professionally, but
can I be a downer?
Ooh, be a downer.
I hate Strowman on this. I think his stuff looks terrible on this. I think the biggest problem is the colors.
I was going to say the colors do not do this artwork any favors whatsoever.
Strowman should never be done in gradients. He should only be done in flats.
I was just going to say that same thing. There's too many gradients on this. The color palette on this is very odd. And I'd almost rather see this entire thing in black and white.
Yeah.
I think that would work. It would be much more effective.
You're not wrong there, man.
But I can understand why you wouldn't like Strowman's work here. I mean, it's definitely very odd and not like it's nowhere near any style that we have been used to, especially in this time period in X-Men continuity.
Absolutely not. So yeah, let's we've had some thoughts. Let's just rank this dang thing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not holding this in high esteem. I think that it is a oddity, and I don't think it lines up with how I usually think of the history of the character. So, where are we going to go on the list with this?
I'm not sure because it's not like bad.
No, but it's definitely not something that I anticipate revisiting.
Yeah, it's also not good is the problem.
Yeah. Here's what I'm gonna say. It down at 179, we have Extreme X-Men Expose.
We do.
And I feel like we're in that neighborhood, like in the 170s, maybe 190s. Like,
so you think this is worse than Bishop's Crossing at 175?
Yeah, definitely.
Look, I'd probably rather reread Summer Special.
Oh yeah, no, I would too.
Man, I think I've said this recently. Summer Special has shot up on this list.
Well, that's because we keep
it was at the bottom.
Yeah, we keep wedging in worse stories under it.
Good for them.
How about this one? Is better or worse than X Factor Judgment War? Oh, I got a tough one on him here. Let's see. What's he gonna say?
Worse. I'm gonna say it's worse. I feel about it just the way I feel about Spider-Man Team Up #1 and Marvel Team Up Volume 3 number 19, in which I'll never think about this again and probably forget it exists.
All right, here's what I'm going to say then. I think that this should be our new 193, if only because it is a striking artistic thing. Like, we may not like it. Like, I clearly like this artwork a lot better than you do, and I think it suffers because of the coloring, but it is bold and it is different. So I think that's where it should go. What do you think?
I think that's fair.
Great. All right. So the time, did we get this right? Oh wait,
it's the times in life of Lucas Bishop.
You know why?
X-Men.
Unlimited lists it differently. Like Unlimited calls it the lives and times, and then the cover says something different.
Well, that app screwed us up.
It's okay. It's a little confusing. All right, we got one more Bishop story, right?
We got one more Bishop story. And I say Bishop story, in just like the first one we talked about, he's actually only in 2 out of these 3 issues.
So what is
this does have an issue where Bishop's on the cover and he looks like the Terminator.
Yeah.
Which is good.
That's great.
This is New X-Men 139 to 141, Murder at the Mansion.
Mm-hmm. Featuring Detective Bishop and his sidekick Sage.
Very good Grant Morrison idea.
Yeah.
Very good, underutilized Grant Morrison idea. This is Grant Morrison, the mystic cosmic hellbeast himself, with art by Phil Jimenez, who is, as some would say, good. It's pretty good. Phil Jimenez is pretty good at art.
Hey, can you... Yeah, because I think Phil's doing a good job here. Can you back something up for me? I heard recently...
Back it up, yeah.
I heard, and I don't know if this is true. Someone told me via social media that Quitely was attacked by a bear, and that was one of the reasons that he did not do more of the new X-Men run. Do you know anything about this?
Adam, we can't include this in our podcast if it's false.
I don't know if this is true. Someone told me that he was attacked by a bear and that was one of the reasons that he was unable to complete more of the run.
I can find no evidence of that happening. However, yes, it happened.
Oh, it did?
No, I have no evidence of that. I'm just assuming that Frank Hartley did get attacked by a bear. No, I don't think we can. Anyway, guys, it's canon that Frank Jeremiah Quitely did get attacked by a bear.
Can we just throw it out there that if you do know anything about this, and even if you were the person that made it up, just reach out because I'm curious where that came from.
Y'all, please confirm this very good story. This is wild. It can't be true, but it's wild.
Well, regardless, we do hope that Frank is okay.
Well, it was 2003. So
yes, and clearly he's done more work since then. So
yeah, Mr. Quite Frankly is very good.
Now we did say that the Bishop's not in this whole thing. What's the setup of this?
So you remember Riot at Xavier's?
I sure do.
You remember how it ends on a cliffhanger where Emma Frost and Scott Summers are getting mind freaky?
That's right, because Emma
walks in.
Yeah. Well, right. Jean interrupts them in
coitus
Scott's
interruptus.
mind.
Mentalis coitus interruptus.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Jean is not happy and is Phoenix flaring all over the place.
Look, I've had a lot of discussions recently with people who have strong feelings about Jean Grey and Emma Frost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't care about any of them. I love both of these characters so much. Anyone who thinks I dislike Jean Grey or I dislike Emma Frost has clearly not spoken to me at length for more than like 3 minutes. Wild. Emma kind of deserves getting yelled at here.
Well, and here's why this is cool: is that in Jean's freak out here, she digs back through Emma's most painful memories and throws them back in her face. So we actually get quite a bit of backstory on Emma in this first issue.
Yeah, this is where we get a lot of Emma backstory. Now, doesn't 100% line up with everything else we learn about Emma, because Emma was definitely in a institution for a little bit as a teen,
right? Mm-hmm.
And the X-Men found her there at one point. Another story, very bad. We'll talk about it eventually. The Silver Age X-Men did rescue teen Emma from an asylum for a little while. She then teamed up with Magneto and fought not the Neo, not the Children of the Vault, another next generation of mutation.
You can never have too many.
You can never have too many. Anyway, yeah, we get a lot of her history, though, and that's really good. And Jean is in the wrong with being this bad to another human being.
Oh,
but
definitely.
It's like this is not about who's right or who's wrong. This is about telling a story, and all of these actions that both of these characters take are deeply in character and incredibly interesting to see.
Can I tell you who's a little out of character here to me?
I want to hear.
Wolverine comforting Emma Frost, calling her darling. What? Do they have that kind of a relationship that he can come in and kind of pat her on the back and she can cry on his shoulder? I wasn't quite buying that.
I think Wolverine's just not sure what to do when he's the emotionally stable person on a team.
I guess.
Because this is the team with Professor X and Beast, who Beast is going through a spell right now. Cyclops, who's having a mental breakdown in all the worst ways. This entire run is Cyclops. Actually, I say this entire run. There's a good decade and a half where Cyclops is just slowly going through a mental and emotional breakdown.
Yeah, dude's got problems.
I love him so much.
Is Emma Frost has got a problem because
at
the mansion, who's been murdered? Emma Frost, who has cracked into one of those fun, clear, translucent plastic egg puzzles that the pieces are all over the floor.
Emma gets shot by a diamond bullet.
Yes, a diamond bullet. And who is brought in as but the aforementioned Bishop and Sage to play detective. Nobody gets to go on summer vacation. And we get to learn about Beacon Angel's weird, gross children.
Number one, it's Angel Salvador. Let's be very clear. It's a very confusing name.
Yes.
Number two, how dare you? Tito and his brethren and sisters are adorable chicken baby human flies.
Oh, yes.
And I love them so dearly.
Guess when they're not so cute? When they're larvae hanging from the top of Wolverine's woodside cabin, dripping juices on the floor. It's nasty.
Look, it's a little gross.
It's all right. It's very indicative of this era. But as we go through these issues, we do finally discover who the murderer was. Um, and it turns out that it involves some mind control. So,
Yeah. So Angel Salvador pulled the trigger, and everyone at first thinks it's because Angel and Beak they did fornicate as teens do in the woods, and we saw that during Riot at Xavier's. Beak did have a condom, but I'm gonna have to believe Beak has had that condom since like he turned 8, and he found it in the woods, and it was already kind of open. It was like already cracked. So that didn't work out well for him. And because Angel Salvador is fly like, she has like a 4-day gestation period.
right.
So she has kids real quick, and she has a lot of kids real quick. And Beak, oh my gosh, Beak's so good. Beak is so good because
Beak is freaked out, man. He cannot handle this. He's becoming a dad far too quickly.
Adam, I don't know what your emotional and mental state was when you became a father. When I became a father, I was ready for it, but I definitely had a bit of anxiety about it.
Of course, any parent would.
I wasn't a teen father to 40 kids.
No, and you also weren't a chicken man.
As far as we know.
Turns out that Esme Cuckoo
Esme
is behind the whole thing and gets away with it.
Yeah, she mind controlled everyone. She mind controlled Beast to think that he went to the opera, which he's not happy about. He wanted to go to that opera.
Yeah, and it is kind of fun the way they it's only 3 issues, and 2 of the issues are kind of clues being spread out, and I like the way this develops. It's a fun little arc.
Sorry, I bit into a cherry right then.
Oh no.
It was the cherry at the bottom of my old fashioned. I wanted some. Anyway. Yeah, it's a fun little arc. There's a lot of enjoyable stuff. The first issue with Jean and Emma has a lot of great dynamics going on in it. Mm-hmm. Cyclops literally jumps on a motorcycle and nopes out of here. This entire arc.
Wolverine's not happy about that.
He says, nope. I'm going to the bar. Going to the strip bar.
It does lead to a great line from Charles Xavier where he says, oh no, it's not the search for Cyclops again.
I do love that. Search for Cyclops, very bad.
There's some good little one-liners in this that are pretty funny.
People like to say that Grant Morrison didn't pay attention to continuity before this, mostly because Grant Morrison maybe played up that legend a bit. Grant Morrison did his homework.
Oh yeah, he's bringing Bishop and Sage right out of Extreme X-Men. So like clearly this is in continuity. You know what I mean?
It's so good. Yeah. Bishop is good. This is the most I've ever liked Sage, who is a character I deeply dislike.
Yeah, she's got a computer for a brain. Is that what her deal is?
She's got a computer for a brain. She was named Tessa.
She's the original 06, is that right? She's the 05.
She was Xavier's secret spy. He recruited her at the same time as the other X-Men, but said instead of being an X-Men, I'm gonna have you infiltrate this weird sex club for theater nerds, and you're just gonna be my secret spy because you saved me from your genocide country once.
Great.
I'm not. Jeez, it's Sage. I talked to somebody about Sage at Gem City Comic Con, and I don't remember who.
Were they pro Sage?
You know, I honestly can't tell you. It was a weird conversation.
I'm not going to worry about it.
Called him Tessa. Called Sage Tessa the entire time, and I was like, dude, I've read that Claremont stuff with the Hellfire Club and Tessa. Tessa's a nobody character. You would not remember Tessa's name unless she was Sage later, so let's not even play that game.
This is definitely not as good as the other new X-Men arcs that we have ranked. We have Riot of Xavier's all the way up at number 6. It's in our top 10.
Yeah, because Riot rules.
Yes, this is not on par with that. I don't think this is anywhere near number 31, which is New X-Men 127, the standalone Zorn issue.
I think it's worse than Planet X at number 50.
Definitely worse than Planet X at number 50. It's one of those arcs that's setting up Planet X because of what's going on with Esme, But
Yes.
if you're gonna just read one of the issues, you probably want to do the first one where Jean and Emma argue, and then you could just assume that Emma makes it out okay, and you're fine. There's
Yeah.
not a great deal of plot development that you're missing.
Hank starting to re-put together Emma because Emma was the only one to like treat him as like, oh yeah, we can talk fashion and culture and like we can talk about the deep themes at the Met Gala, Hank. That's a timely reference as we're recording this. That is dated by the time this one's coming out.
Hey, there's one every year.
And yet we're very far away from the next.
But it is nice to see Beast kind of have that connection. I thought she was nice. It's a nice character moment.
And I like Jean sucking it up and saying, I really dislike this woman profoundly right now. She probably shouldn't be 1,000 pieces.
Right. And puts her back together and saves her.
Because she had her lips. Jean was carrying around Emma's lips, which that's
strange.
It's strange on several levels.
But I do love
it's Grant Morrison, so that was intentional.
I do love that the Beast is like, I was looking for that piece. I've been looking all over for that. All right, here's a comparison point for you. 94 Jean Grey solo series Psych Wars 8 to 11.
I think this is better than that.
Okay. All right. So we know we're somewhere in the middle here.
I think this is better than 87, The Leprechauns of Cassidy Cape. Adam, this is probably better than The Leprechauns of Cassidy Cape.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah. I'm just kind of, I think this is better than Gambit and the Externals at 82.
I think this is better than House of M.
Okay, I'm with you.
Is it better than the Uncanny X-Men Acts of Vengeance story at 77 with Quanon?
I don't think visually it is. I
think that's fair.
Yeah. How about this? Is it better or worse than End of Grays?
Worse. I like End of Grays better.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that I think that Uncanny Acts of Vengeance is better than this. So that would put it somewhere below 77.
Okay, but it's better than Generation X #4, the Christmas issue, which I got to talk to Chris Batchelow about. And I got to mention that, I said, dude, they used that Orphan Maker design like this week in comics when it came out. When I was talking to him, he's like, no jokes. Seriously? I said, I hadn't seen it used. He's like, that's awesome.
Yeah, nobody calls you when they do that, unfortunately.
That would be a weird one to call him for.
Yeah.
But
yeah. All right, so better or worse than Captain America Acts of Vengeance?
Probably not as good as that time that Magneto put Red Skull into a hole.
All right, so that would make this our new 79?
This is our new 79. New X-Men, Murder at the Mansion. A good showing. Not the best new X-Men story. Not the worst either.
No, but a fun one. And definitely an interesting take on our boy Bishop, who...
Your boy Bishop.
Excuse me. I love my Bishop. This has been a good Bishop episode.
We had a lot of Bishop content here. And I think we've all learned from it. So let's bring this thing back together. I'd like to thank Patrick. Patrick, thank you so much for suggesting us to do this whole Bishop-filled episode. We definitely only moved diagonally on this entire episode. So if you want to be like Patrick, that was a chess joke, Adam. I don't know if you got that. Bishop is a chess piece.
I got it. I just didn't want to interrupt you.
They go diagonally?
Yes, they do.
Anyway.
They murder lots of people with a future shotgun.
Jeez. If you're doing a Marvel chess set and Bishop isn't your Bishop, what is wrong with you? Just get out of there. Don't even come to work. You're done. You're done, man. You had one job and you screwed it up.
Oh.
Anyway, you can go on over to patreon.com/ExhibitFiles, just like Patrick, and we'll talk about like whatever you want. Guys, do you know how picky we are? Not very. We got other things. Talk to your friends about us. Tell your comic book shop owner that there's an all new, all different Battle of the Atom, and they need to get on because we're well on our way to our very own Dark Phoenix saga, and you know that issue could be worth $25,000 to you.
Yes, you could win a bike.
The bike is later. The bike's like 2 issues later.
I'm sorry, it's still kind of fun. You gotta be able to win that.
No, the bike's like 1 issue later, isn't it? The bike is sad Cyclops walking away.
You can win that bike, man.
No, wait. No, the bike is like Kitty's Fairy Tale, maybe? Guys, which is the one with the bike?
Hold on, now I gotta look it up. It's not that important. Keep talking. I'll look it up. Hold on.
You look up the bike one.
I'm looking up the bike.
Anyway, yeah, Patreon. It's very good, and it supports all these good goofs and jokes that we make talking about X-Men. You can also go on over to XavierFiles.com. That's where I have all the latest and greatest in X-Men paraphernalia. Nope, I don't sell things. Stories and news and articles about the X-Men. We're about to enter the age of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men, which we're going to explore. I've got some thoughts about that I've been enjoying sharing with everyone on the website and otherwise on twitter.com/XavierFiles, where you can see all of my latest thoughts about different things like the Age of X-Man. This is not an official X-Man update, but Age of X-Man still going strong. I still like it. Y'all should be reading it because no one is.
All right, I found it.
Is it Kitty's Fairy Tale?
All right, so 137 is the comic can be worth $2,500 to you.
Yep, that makes sense.
Lonely Cyclops walking off 138 is the Toys R Us shopping spree.
Okay.
And then there are 3 issues where you can get that sweet Columbia 10-speed racer.
The 10-speed of God's Blood and Burial.
Yes. So the first one is 151, then 153, which is Kitty's Fairy Tale, and then 154. So a couple opportunities for you to win that bike.
Oh, man, guys. If you want a murder bike that's going to tell you to kill your ex-girlfriend, pick up that 10-speed. Adam, where can people find you online?
All right, guys. You can always follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. I got new pages of Bish and Jubes, the Cross-Time Conundrum, coming out every X-Men Monday at adamrec.tumblr.com.
And it's very good. Hey, Adam. Do you know what we're talking about next week?
Whew. What are we talking about next week, Zach?
We're going to talk about what I think is my favorite issue of X-Men of all time.
Wow.
And it's not one anyone's going to expect.
All right. Tune in to hear what that is.
Guys, it's probably not breaking the top 10. It is my favorite issue of all time.
This could be exciting. Very exciting.
Until then, guys, this has been Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.
Get it!